This is Talking Ears. I'm Frank Wardinger, music audiologist in Philadelphia. For this episode, Juan and I sat down with Tom May, guitarist and vocalist in the Menzingers, a Philadelphia-based band that was formed in 2006 in Scranton and has been going strong ever since. We're going to focus this conversation on in-ear monitors and their use in live settings for loud bands like the Menzingers. But we're also going to talk and geek out a lot about guitar tone, and we're going to hear Tom's thoughts about live event safety, which is directly in line with Juan and I's thoughts on this topic. Music heard in this episode is from the Menzingers' most recent album, Some of It Was True. We'll be starting this conversation by asking Tom to explain how the band actually works and how they've been going strong for almost 2 decades.
We started out, the four of us together. We run our band fully democratically, sometimes to like a productive fault, but it's what has allowed us to go all these years and allowed us to be such close friends and family. Well, all four of us write songs together. We make all the decisions together. It's a really good time.
I like democracy.
Yeah, it's great.
And you guys have been doing it now, it looks like for almost 20 years, right? Since 2006.
Almost 20 years. Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, it's wild that democracy can last that long.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, if that's the thing, we've been together almost 20 years. Everyone has changed. We've changed together because of our proximity and communicating and having the same values and goals. So what ends up happening is we're chasing after a consensus all the time. Yeah. So there's very few situations where we're making a decision, something as simple as a t-shirt design all the way up to who we're going to record with, or where we're going to live or something. We chase after a 4-way consensus, and that way everybody stays happy, and nobody's resentful, nobody feels like they're not included or anything like that.
Smart.
Yeah,
it's smart.
I think so. Sometimes you'll end up being like, well, I guess we're just not going to do this thing because we can't get everybody to agree.
So that's a big thing that stayed the same over the last almost 20 years then, that you guys have been democratic. It's been the same 4 people writing, singing songs together, playing in the band together, touring the world together. What's changed over that time?
Well, one thing got easier. We became a larger band, which means that we have a bigger crew and we have the amenities are nicer. We go on a tour bus most of the time. We are able to afford to bring our gear everywhere and pay some of our best friends in the entire world to work with us. And the backstages are nicer, that kind of things. But what's gotten harder is definitely certain home relationships are hard to maintain. None of us have kids yet, but it's definitely something that's on the horizon and could be, lots of our friends' bands, they do it. But some of those relationships get a little difficult. You miss a lot of family stuff. Yeah. And what else? The main thing, though, that's gotten harder is our bodies are older. It's like, it just kind of, I think I'm 37 years old. Everybody who is in my age area kind of says the same thing, that it just happened one day. Yeah. But once in a while you get hurt on tour and you're like, I'm going to be hurt for the rest of the tour now. Or like, depriving your body of sleep can be difficult. So the harder thing is definitely that we're just old now.
I feel that so hard.
Yeah.
One day I will wake up in a dream, and the meaning of it all will be revealed to me. Suddenly I'm 17, driving alone for the first time. Smoking cigarettes that can't kill me yet. Riding away from the sunrise. Winding my way down the back road. The older I get, the less I know. And I knew nothing then. The older I get, the less I know. And I knew nothing then.
That was actually a question I was going to ask you a little bit later, but since you brought up our aging bodies, I will ask it now.
Awesome.
I've seen videos of you guys play, and your whole band has this incredible live energy, and I think that's a huge reason why a lot of folks kind of are gravitated towards you, is just to see that kind of energetic attacking of each song. And
oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's so fun and attractive to watch and to listen to. But you specifically, have anybody ever told you that you move a lot on stage?
Yeah, definitely. Hell yeah. One of my favorite things in the world.
Do you also feel like your legs and ankles and feet hurt after a show?
More than they used to, I guess. Yeah, sometimes. The main thing is getting in like a more, I don't know if I'm using the term clinically correctly, but like chronic injury or something. So it's not just like being sore, but if you strain a muscle or something like that ends up being a huge pain. That's I mentioned before while we were talking, I had to go to physical therapy because I literally strained my ass, like the gluteus medius muscle or whatever. And now I have to spend 8 weeks like stretching and exercising so that it will fix. But I love, putting that much in on stage, and I've been doing it for so long that it's kind of second nature. I think you're right. It is what brings people back to come see us, and keeping that live show fun and interesting. One of the main reasons people want to come is because it's like a big physical release for them. And it's like a really fun way to just get lost and be completely present in the music.
I'm afraid I love someone who's in love with someone else. For years I've kept it to myself, pretending we are picture perfect.
And I do know, it's funny that you say that. There's like an existential piece of my mind that's like, can you do this when you're 50? Do you want to do this when you're 50? And I'm like, right now I don't care. I just want to live year by year. But yeah, you got to do more maintenance now, you stretch.
Yeah. Yep.
They say hope is a dangerous little thing to keep finding out the hard way what tomorrow never brings. They say hope is a dangerous little thing to keep finding out the hard way what tomorrow never brings. Never brings. I passed a restaurant under the ground.
A lot of times people were really into music because they discovered the music at a certain point in their life, and they will forever nostalgically associate that music with that point in their life, and they'll just keep chasing that over and over again. One thing that we've been extremely fortunate about is that our fans are, for the most part, our age and have grown with us as we go. So, they started liking us when they were 25 and now they're 35, and music tastes change, but they still associate us with the now or with what's changing. We're trying to, chase after that or predict it or curate it. That's a whole other conversation about like, we can't do something too weird. It'll make everyone mad. And then it's like, well, fuck them. But it's like, well, no, fuck them. They're the people that like your band that keep you going. So there's that whole push-pull that exists forever.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that we've come to with changing. And the most recent record, we went back to kind of what we didn't like start to make the music we originally set out making, but we went in and we were like, okay, what is our band? We are a live band. We don't need to layer this many guitars. We'll literally just leave, throw an acoustic underneath everything, but it's 2 guitars, bass, drums. Let's record it live and roll with it. And now we're finally good enough to be able to record live. I think that early days, every punk band was like, no, man, you need to record it live. And it was like, actually, you should not record that live.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, boy, oh boy. Could you maybe use a click track?
Exactly. It sounds romantic, but you guys you're not the band. That's what I would have told myself when we were younger. Yeah.
One thing about guitarists and tone that rubs shoulders with kind of what we do in hearing conservation, hearing loss prevention, is this whole idea that a guitar amp really only sounds good once it gets to breakup, once it gets to that sweet spot. Like I said, it butts heads against our goal of protecting people, because that leads to concerns about stage volume and concerns about exposure and concerns about front of house mix and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I've got a series of questions here, but one question right up front is, to you, a guitar player in a touring band that frankly has an amazing tone.
Thank you.
What is guitar tone? Like, how could you describe that to a non-guitarist?
I guess if I would explain it, I'd be like, hey, so I could play this guitar through this one amp and it will sound this way. And I could play it through another amp with a different pickup and it will sound a completely different way, even though I played it the exact same with my fingers and the strings. So it'll be like how the sound is shaped by the equipment that you're using, I suppose.
Oh, that's a nice way of simplifying it. The shape by the equipment you're using. And how would you then describe to somebody what's a good guitar tone versus a not good guitar tone?
Yeah.
What is it about guitar tone that really draws you in? Like, what are you listening for when you set up your amp, when you set up your signal chain?
Yeah, so there's exceptions to everything I'm about to say because obviously there's no like right or wrong way to do anything. Yeah. But I would say that first, it doesn't make you feel good to hear it because that's the subjective part. And then you try to, if I was going to describe what sounds nice to me, it's going to be there's a balance within the frequencies. There's a balance within the whole taste of the guitar tone. So from like the way that the lower sounding things sound mixed with the mids and the highs, if there's a balance that sounds soothing to that. Does it make me excited? You know, like this is a tough question because you can't really like, at first I wanted to be like, well, you know how you could go to the movies and watch one of those, like, I don't know, Marvel, like an action hero movie or something, or a war movie, and you're listening, and then you can watch that on your phone too and just listen out of your phone. There's going to be a big difference between the experience that you're having. That one kind of implies size and money and stuff like that. When I'm making my tone, a lot of times I can't come back, leave without this idea of thinking that I have some type of nostalgic association with certain guitar tones. So it's going to sound good, not because I was told that it sounds good, because that's the songs that I like and the way that they sounded. And now I'm going to like it forever because I was like 11 when I heard, you know, the Creedence or whatever. And they have, you know, their guitar tones are not objectively that great on a lot of those recordings, but I have a nostalgic association with it and I love it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's hard to put into words, but I love the way that you put it. It's just all about the feel then.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in the studio, guitar tone can be your playground. It can be your sandbox. It can be 2 hours of your life just setting up amps and A-Bing things. In a live setting, what's your philosophy around kind of the compromise that needs to happen? Or are you a no compromise kind of guy on stage?
100% compromise guy. Like I would do anything that our front house asked of me. And with that being said, not just to make his job easier, but to make sure that the listening experience for everybody and the audience is best. And I don't stand out there. So I've released, for the most part, you know, and he's such a brilliant, amazing human being. Shout out Dave. I'm going to send this to him when it comes out, so he'll probably hear it.
Yeah.
But I've completely surrendered the idea that I have any idea of what's better for anyone else. And that Dave is smart, practiced, and frankly, he's so experienced that I trust in him. So when he says stage volume's too loud, then the stage volume's too loud, it's got to come down. Now that does get into some territories where like the amp is not going to break up as much, like we talked about before. So if you're not a guitar player, amps that use certain analog technology and vacuum tubes only break up after a certain amount of power is put into them, and then you're dealing with very, very loud volumes that are so loud you can't even like imagine. There's no way for me to explain how loud it is, especially with like the exponential increase of the dBs and all that shit. But if you turn up, I have a Fender Deluxe that I use on stage. Basically, I use that and another amp, but the Deluxe is like my main little baby, and I don't turn it up past like 3 ever. Or 3.5, like ever. In the studio, will go up sometimes, but on a stage, if you turn it up to 10, it's going to be like an aircraft landing.
Illegal.
It's very, very loud.
Absolutely illegal.
Yeah. It's got to be. It's only, that one's only like a 35 watt amp. So the way that I get it to break up is to use an overdrive pedal that I really like. Yep. And then that gives it a breakup tone and color, and then I can use that to almost attenuate the sound to get the amp to sound better. But I will say there's a lot of people who now use amp modeling technology, and stuff like that. We don't use those. No shade to anybody who does, obviously. Greg, the other guitarist in our band, is very much more storied and knowledgeable about guitar gear and amps and stuff like that. And there's like a whole online battle between people that will use modeling technology, people who won't. I understand why you would use it. You can fly with it in a suitcase and get all your tones. For us, we've never seen or used one that got us the tone that we wanted, that we could get from the actual amps live. So we use amps. So if Dave was ever like, hey, I want you to use this modeling amp, I would be like, no. Not yet. But so getting the stage right is hard. And the biggest issue that we actually have on stage is not necessarily keeping the guitars down, which is a problem, but is our cymbals. So our drummer hits the cymbals very hard, and that frequency of, that range of the cymbals bleeds into the vocal microphones, which are lining the front of the stage, and then they end up coming through the PA system. So it's like it's an interesting battle to try to rein in all that stuff.
Do you know the band Cymbals Eat Guitars?
Yeah.
Another Philadelphia.
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
name.
It's perfect.
But yeah, it's a common mixing, it's a common live sound problem. It's just that there's so much sound coming off those things.
It almost sounds like that's another change, how you're playing live.
We set up for the ever after, and days that were in tandem. I don't care, I'm not scared. Hold me, baby, while we touch the fire.
Performing in a slightly different way where you can achieve the same goal, but how you do it is slightly different. Is that something that you've noticed with stage volume too?
100%, yeah. So with stage volume, with aggressiveness on tones, just specifically for guitar tones, the tones that you use with the amps, things that are cleaner are more revealative to what you're playing, which allows you to be more expressive. And now that we're older and better at it, and we appreciate that a lot more, so it's like things can be a lot more musical. If I play an open G on during a verse on a guitar that is not very overdriven, there's a lot of room there for harmonics, and maybe I'm bending the notes slightly by accident, and that can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but there's like way more music that exists there, and that's definitely one of the changes that's happening as we get older and realize it. Like even muting the kit, we started to play around with putting a t-shirt over the snare. We just recorded at Retro City Studios. We just did a song like 2 weeks ago, and they have a cool cloud there that's over the drum set, and we lowered it almost all the way down on top of them to kind of dead in the room, and mic'd it a little bit closer. Nice. So we're starting to experiment with those kind of things, and that's playing way softer. Like we wouldn't even have been able to do that when we were in our 20s, I don't think.
That's cool. I mean, I love the way you keep using this phrase that I'm going to steal from you. I'll give you credit. No, you keep saying that there's music within that, or there's music in there. Yeah. And I love the way the kind of imagery of that, like within this guitar tone or within this drum sound or within how this person's playing or how they're not playing, there's music in that, that's nice. That's really nice.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Someone had explained it to me many years ago that the real music is like very cool, classically trained musician. And I was like, yeah, the real music is between the notes. And I always thought about that. And I was like, damn, that's an interesting way to look at it. And how do you carry that out to the rest of the world? So I always think about that.
Yeah. Restraint has its own action, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Even the negative space in a photograph is, just as much the rest of it. It's like a really interesting way to look at stuff.
Much maligned is this phrase, or the version of this phrase that has to do with jazz, where people say jazz is the notes that you're not playing. And then that leads to the existential crisis with, am I always playing jazz?
I like that. That's pretty good.
Right now, I'm not playing any notes. Oh, no. Let's then shift a little gears to your ears. That was not meant to rhyme. I do this all the time. Let's shift gears over to your in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
When we first met, it was just to get you set up with some new in-ear monitors. And that was because you were having some kind of frustrations on stage with the current setup. Tell me about what you guys used before, and then we'll get to kind of what you're currently using.
Sure. So for a long time, we didn't use any ears, and very rarely used earplugs for probably like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. we just, I don't know, we were just younger and didn't, and we really just like soaking in all of that energy. I mean, it is cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate it now. I have like many opinions about this, but it was fun to be making a lot of noise. It's like shooting a cannon off when you hit a guitar chord with a 4x12 dialed or dimed. It's just so loud and cool. Dangerous, obviously. And we started to play shows that had actual monitors that came. So we would be like, okay, well, we do turn it down. And we would fight every in-house sound guy, stupidly, to turn down, not realizing that he's going to put those things into the PA system. And we started to get monitors in front of us. And then we started to play shows where you get monitors and you could each have the monitor engineer will help you dial in a mix that's good for you. So we would like print up a little sheet or write it down and give it to him and talk to him. I stand in the middle and I'm directly in front of the drums and there's a monitor there. My guitar amp is kind of far away when we first started to do like touring with bigger bands and stuff. And I would never be able to hear my guitar ever. So I was like, can you put more on the monitor? Can you put more on the monitor? Can you put more on the monitor? And realizing now that I have to be able to sing out of it at the same time and there's no room for it before it starts feeding back. So I started to talk to people about in-ear monitors, so the bigger bands were using them, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to figure out how to do this. So I got our manager to hit up a company. Jerry Harvey Audio was the first ones that we were using. They gave us like a percentage off as a deal, which was awesome. And I got in-ear monitors made. Oh, also one of my best friends, Andy Clark, and also our front house guy, Dave, again, shout out. Andy was explaining it to me because he had a pair of molded in-ears that he used in the studio with like mixing and mastering and live and stuff like that. So I did that, and then I bought like a single wireless unit, and I would give it to the monitoring engineer and be like, hey, can you just plug this in? And then I would ask him for stuff that would go into the ears. And that was like life-changing for me because I could actually finally hear my guitar. And it was cool, and it was like protecting my ears so it wasn't as loud.
And what year was this?
It was probably 10 years ago. I adopted it before everybody else in the band because of the necessity of not being able to hear my guitar. And also, and this is also possibly to a fault, really into newer technologies as they're coming out. And I'll usually kind of get at them, even if they end up being bullshit. I'll usually just be like, no, I like this. I try to drag everybody with me.
This is why you're collecting NFTs and crypto right now?
not that quite.
Yeah, please focus on the conversation. Stop going and buying NFTs.
Exactly. That's why I have this other browser open over here, my fucking Coinbase wallet. So I got those, and then eventually we convinced everybody to do it, and we saved up enough money to figure out in-ears for everyone. So everyone bought their own in-ear monitors, got fitted and all that stuff, but we bought the stage infrastructure. So I talked to a bunch of people, and Andy and Dave helped design a system that we could use on stage. And it's very simple. It's the same one that we have been using for like probably almost 10 years now.
Nice. What was the thing that convinced everybody else, this is how we should move forward? This is where we should go?
So everyone started to become upset when the stage didn't sound similar to the day beforehand. And the amount of time and communication that we would have to spend trying to get the monitors to sound good. We played so many clubs with busted shit and so many competent and incompetent people that worked there, and everyone was starting to get frustrated because they were like, my mix sucks, and then that would make them angry during the show.
As a prisoner of in the middle of the night, got me bleeding out for more. Come on, heartache, don't hurt me no more. Don't hurt me no more.
And at the end of the day, like, well, I can't be angry during the show. I just had a bad day, and it's because of my mix. Yeah. So I think we just done enough times of being frustrated, got everybody to get on board with it. And also just like trying to convince over and over again, being like, hey, we could get these for this much money. This is what all the bands that are our size do, and like some bands that are kind of bigger than us. And everybody was like, yeah, we'll do that. Because some people were very, very anti in-ears, the same way that some people were anti like modeling technology or things that they don't think are... There's like how it is. It's music. Everybody has an opinion. Yep. And a lot of it is chasing after what is an internal sense of authenticity, like when you get a cocktail in a mason jar at a bar. The whole idea is like, well, I can't use in-ears because, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I'll throw them in front of the bus stop. The idea of like, I'm using in-ears, I'm not connected to the crowd, I'm not connected to whatever. There's like there's a story there, and that was one of the stories that was competing for us to get in-ears. But then enough times it was bad, and everybody was like, oh my God, yeah, let's do it.
And we hear this all the time. I mean, Juan and I both work with musicians who are fighting it or who are trying to convince people or on either side of the fence, throwing rocks and bricks at each other. I still hear once a month, somebody sends me an article like Slash came out saying he's anti-in-ear monitors and like, good for you.
Nice. Slash, known for his empirical research into ear health. That's really cool.
So, I mean, it's a culture war almost, except that there's nobody fueling it, and there's nobody who has any kind of skin in the game except for your own kind of bravado or feeling of it's not right on stage with my style of music. Totally. It is interesting.
Very interesting take. I've never heard it put that way before. That's cool. I'm gonna use that for you. I'll trade you from the other thing I was saying.
Please.
I'll take that. Nice.
Yeah, have at it. Well, and it's interesting too because your style of music, which would you describe it as punk?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of where I go when I listen to it, and I think of you guys as just kind of a loud punk rock band. And
that's exactly what we are.
Yeah, I love the punk community, and I love the inclusiveness, and there's really no community that's more accepting of anybody's choices than the punk community. But there's a lot of communities of loud music that sort of see any attempt at control or hyper-polished professionalism or safety, heaven forbid, as kind of like anti this. So do you feel any pushback when you guys go and play, punk festivals or rock and metal shows?
Some pushback in the sense that the shows, so once in a while, not very often, some pushback that the show's too loud. And it's like, I understand. I totally understand. I think that the whole thing is, I don't know how you want to get into it, but what we're doing is very bizarre. And you're like, the reason that the amp breaks up when it gets high is because they didn't have the PA tech. Basically, you can have a quick lineage of like, PA systems were not big enough, made the amps huge. People had to turn them up over the screaming fans, people like the Beatles and shit like that. Then they were like, this sounds cool. Then they used that in recordings. And then we copied that. And now it's like a cycle of this whole thing based off of the actual, what's it, the form over function, or form follows function, the actual thing they were doing. And it's almost like, I don't know, a caricature of itself in some ways.
Yep. And
playing music that is that loud, I can't stand it. Every time I go to a show and it's like hurting everyone's ears, including my own, and I'm wearing earplugs. I'm like, do we have to do this? Like, you're playing on a fucking laptop. Like, there's no reason for this. And I get the visceral feelings of bass and stuff like that, and being at dance clubs and things like that. But I feel like that a lot of that can exist without exactly what we're doing. And this is also, I got to remember, I'm completely full of shit because I'm playing loud rock shows with real amps. And that's like what people come to see me for.
Sometimes say you're too loud.
What? Sometimes, yeah. Not frequently. And then most of them have earplugs. Any venue worth its salt has earplugs for free or for sale.
Yeah, that's a big
We've
change.
had them out at our merch table before, just free. You go to Home Depot and buy like hundreds of pairs of earplugs. But then now you can't hear. I mean, earplugs, when you wear them, it changes what you're hearing. Yeah. So that becomes what you're hearing, and not like the nuances that exist within the composition of the music a lot of times. But yeah, it's just an interesting, kind of chaotic machine that the whole thing is. I find it.
I wish you were here with me. I wish you were here with me. I'm all alone in Dublin, searching for something, wishing you were here.
Just to steal a phrase that you used earlier, foam earplugs, they reduce the sound. They do a good job at that. Construction workers use them. They protect you. Excellent. But there's no music in them.
No.
Right? There is music in those filtered earplugs that you and I talked about.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They keep the music, right? They don't squash and smush it like a piece of foam.
Absolutely.
when known as a loud band, sometimes being the person who's causing the loudness, and yet also being conscious of this is a little bit of a dissonance, right? A little bit of a disconnect. And I've struggled with that myself doing live sound for bands and just being like, this is dangerous for everybody here.
Yeah.
But it's got to be this way to be the art that it is.
But yeah, it is. And it's weird. And I think that, you guys would know more than me how certain things are changing. There are several European countries and some U.S. cities, I think, that have either max dB limits or rolling average dB limits. And those shows sound fine. I've seen shows in Switzerland that sounded awesome. Outside, not so much. But like it's an indoor club show that's capped at 99 dB over every half hour or whatever, and it's a lot safer and it sounds great. It doesn't sound as awesome as like ripping something huge, but it is, now that we know that it's not safe, like maybe we knew that back then, but I wasn't paying attention, that it's really just not safe for people. So especially people who work in that environment, it's like if you're exposed to this every day, it's no good. It's like you're going to end up with real problems.
You put it so nicely. And you're right, there is this kind of dissonance when you, as an artist, want it to be this loud because not just because it feels good, because that's what it is. Yeah. At the same time, though, being conscious of, I don't want to hurt anybody either, It's tricky. You don't have to go. No one's forcing you to do that. Also, no one's forcing you to wear hearing protection. But if there's an awareness of it, that's certainly better than nothing. But with an art form that arguably may or may not need to have regulations, that's kind of difficult to talk about, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's still a choice. And if there's an awareness, that gives people an option at the minimum.
Yeah, I think that's even, you can make a philosophical case that they're not making a choice because they don't have the information.
Such a good point.
You could choose not to go, but if you don't know that it's not good for you, you're kind of not making the choice. You think it's fine. And I think that totally makes sense. I really, I don't know, what's the deal? What are people trying to do? Like, I really think that more information to the public, even posted up at venues, would make way more sense. I think that maybe there's a way you can incentivize people to wear earplugs. Like, I don't know how you do that, give them away for free, or like remember the Got Milk commercials? You just have a bunch of old rockers with like earplugs in like fucking middle schools.
Well, there's a lot. I think there's a lot to be said about both sides of this. Like regulations in Europe, they work. Regulations in countries, they work because they reduce the level, but they're also taking the responsibility and the liability, and they're putting it on the front of house engineer, the club, the venue.
Sure.
Sometimes the bands have been sued for being too loud. And at a certain point, like, you have to go, whose responsibility is this event and the exposure to this event? So I really like this analogy. I could harp on the sandwich analogy again. Is it evil or bad to serve a crispy chicken fried sandwich knowing that it's not good for us? And and my counter argument is always, it is good for me. It's good for one very specific part of me, which is my tongue. My tongue enjoys this a lot, and my brain enjoys it, and I'm happy, and I'm not going to do it all the time. And so I know this is long-winded, but the end result of that is, how can we be responsible? Because it's not the sandwich person's responsibility to decide whether or not you eat that sandwich. Instead, and this is where I like these regulations or laws, just make people aware. Put the calories up there.
Yeah.
Just make them aware. And then it's their choice. And and I think the way around this that I would really love to see happen in the U.S. is not a strict regulation that's hard to enforce and puts the liability in the wrong hands. I would love to see awareness. You are stepping into a space that will get loud.
Yeah.
There's a warning there. This is dangerous for your ears. There's a warning there. Here's the current level. Display it to the audience. There's a warning there. Here's some earplugs on the merch table because the Menzingers are nice. There's a warning there.
Yeah.
The rest is up to you, right?
Sure. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And it wouldn't be difficult. Live Nation and AEG own such a large percentage of the medium to large size venues in the country.
True.
one corporate policy would just, they put more signage up. And, some of them do. They might, next time I'm there, they might even be everywhere. A lot of places do have warnings up. I think a venue that's owned by Live Nation that we play in Pittsburgh has a bunch of warnings up. And I'm pretty sure almost all of them have protection available that is nominal in price. Like might be $1, might be $5, something like that. It's definitely cheaper than any of the alcohol or the tickets or any other possible thing or the parking or anything like that. I totally agree with that. I think it's a fantastic way if people would pay more or were given more opportunities to pay attention to it, because nobody knows, like nobody is having that kind of conversation. I have several groups of friends that are really into going to shows, obviously, and I've been trying to turn them on to the molded filtered earplugs, because the experience of seeing a live show is so much better. And the ones who have, like every musician I know has them, but the ones who have are absolutely flabbergasted by how much better it sounds. And I think that's becoming more available. They're also, that's kind of like, here's an interesting one for you. That's like they're not easy to get. So they are easy to get, obviously. You make an appointment with one of you guys, you get molded, you order them. But it seems like there's not really a consumer friendly option that is just like right through the path file, easy to do.
There's no Apple store for custom earplugs.
And
you're right. It is a burden that you have to make the appointment during business hours. You have to go to an office where somebody's going to ask you why your guitar is the way that it is, and maybe you should just play the drums quieter.
I mean, just to say, the experience I had with you is absolutely incredible. I recommended you to so many people. That was unreal to be able to come to the studio, get the molds done, have somebody who's extremely familiar with our industry and focused on it, and ask a gazillion questions that were answered very thoughtfully and eloquently. Super cool. Great. 10 out of 10. I would recommend.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We had a very memorable visit together because we were rushed for time. I think if I remember correctly, I had to squeeze you in because you were going on a tour and I had like 30 minutes. So I drove over to your place in Center City.
Yeah.
You let me into the door. We sat down in a room and I think I commented like, this is a very strange room with a weird fireplace. And you said, this is where Alexander Hamilton took naps?
Yeah, this is Alexander Hamilton's. So my studio, it was on the site of Alexander Hamilton's old house in an insurance building that was turned into like a co-working space where I had a recording studio in the basement, and we were in like the boardroom or one of the old boardrooms of the insurance, like the Nelson Insurance Company from the 1810s or whatever. That's pretty wild.
Man, Philadelphia is a weird place.
So weird. The fact that I got to just walk around that building all day was hilarious and amazing. There's like giant paintings of like, dead business people. It was sick.
Sundays spiral in the west-west. I follow them down till I can't turn back around. Sundays I just want to feel okay. Try to handle it the right way.
I promised that I was going to ask about your pre-in-ear monitors, your in-ear monitor start, and we talked about that, those last 10 years.
Yeah.
What is the type that you're using now, and kind of what are they doing for you?
Right now, I am more happy with my in-ear situation than I've ever been. I'm using the Sensophonics 3D ME that you told me all about and showed me. It is there, so they have little ambient microphones on each side. The signal comes from our stage box, or from our stage mixer, through the pack, and it blends the signal with the ambient mic signals. And to me, it seems very similar to like consumer available things like AirPods that have the transparent listening mode. It's that quality. It's higher than that quality. It's got like a little graphic EQ on it, and it sounds incredible. I had some issues at first keeping it charged, and I had one like buzz issue that were all resolved. But this is like the perfect thing for me because I really do miss. We have a lot of people who sing along, first of all. That changes the way that I react to everyone. I really want to be able to hear that. And we were using ambient mics pointed at the crowd to mix in with our stage mix, but that wasn't doing the trick at all. Plus, that also you ran the risk that there would be an annoying person in front of the ambient mic, which would happen like once every 8 shows, where there's like one guy or girl that's just like hammered,
Clapping on the
just
ones.
clapping, like screaming into the ambient microphone, like just being like, "There's a microphone," and then that's just in your ears. And then there's all kinds of like what I would call maybe phase issues or psychoacoustic situation where you're moving and it doesn't match what your brain thinks it should be. So these 3D MEs are so sick. They're so much cheaper than some of the other solutions that are available. And yeah, I was blown away. You could use them as a I'm like pitching this thing now. You could use them as a microphone. So I've recorded walking around a city for some ambient noise. And I've used it as like a field recorder when I went to a parade in Philly. And I'm going to use some of the percussion stuff that I was walking by as a sample in an upcoming project.
Nice.
Which I think would be really cool. But yeah, these things, they work great. I mean, you know, as long as I remember to keep them charged, which I've been banned from that. Now our guitar tech, they go into like a situation over there.
Did you end up convincing anybody else to go that route, or is everybody else out in a full isolation city?
No, they're out in full isolation city at the moment. We got, I believe Eric got a pair of really nice ones that have like very nice drivers in them and some extra bass ones because he plays bass. But all the stuff that we had talked about regarding the whole idea that more drivers equates to better high quality sound, not necessarily being the case, not in his case, his sound fucking awesome. But that got me really thinking about it and talking about it. And I ran into some other people who had the same philosophy as well. They were like, yeah, if one of those things is off by 0.5 millimeter, you're going to run into phase issues. You're going to have like all these other things. More speakers doesn't necessarily mean better sound. It just means more speakers. So that's been an interesting paradigm shift in my thoughts about a lot of the in-ear technology and like talking to other bands about it too. So it was really interesting. Yeah.
I think our conversation ended up with that a lot of these companies will keep adding drivers as kind of a marketing tactic of we have now one with X number of drivers, 12 drivers, 16 drivers. Yeah. And at a certain point, it always feels to me like they're trying to sell me a bicycle with more tires or more wheels.
Yeah.
I don't think that needs that.
Yeah.
I think
makes so much sense.
18 wheels on a bicycle is too many.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to do something severe, like have an 18-wheeler that has to carry a large load and spread weight across a bridge or whatever. I don't see the purpose of it. And I don't know. I'm glad to hear that the cracks are starting to show in the armor of that.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't miss you. I didn't miss you until you were gone and out of the picture. I packed up and moving on. I raided our memories looking for clues. What destroyed the love we knew, but I didn't miss you.
Yeah, there's some of the other ambient stuff I looked into where there was like so many other levels of signal management and things that you needed. You were sending your ambient signal back into the source of your in-ear mix, and it's prohibitively expensive. The Sensophonics ones sound amazing and they work really well.
Yep.
And I couldn't be more happy with them. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's kind of two overall philosophies. One is put microphones on your ears to make ambient, like you just described. The other one is to put ports or openings in the ear monitors, which Juan and I both would lose our licenses if we recommended that.
Yeah.
It's just very dangerous.
Maybe you could just drill a hole in them in your basement with the smallest drill bit you could find.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you might as well drill a hole in it while you're wearing them.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's a horrible joke.
Yeah, so I looked into those, and I'm really glad to learn from you that it's not a viable solution for the reasons that you gave. It makes so much sense. Yeah.
Are you finding then you're at the point in your career where you can start singing a chorus and the audience starts singing?
Yes, the coolest part of the show. Yeah.
Do you ever look out at them and just go, "Hey, I wrote those words. That's neat."
Honestly, there's yes, especially if we do all the instrumentation does a hard stop, and then we don't sing on the microphones and we let the audience all sing it. I sometimes will laugh and be like, I remember when we wrote that, in the kitchen at our old apartment. And I'm like, I can't believe this is translated over. These people don't even speak English, it'd be like when it happens in like Frankfurt or something. It's really, really, really cool.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane.
But now you have the microphones on your ears. You can actually experience that. Are you finding yourself adjusting the level throughout the show, or do you just kind of set it, forget it?
So yes and no. There is the level that you adjust on physically on is kind of a bit of a jump when you push it. It's not as, maybe there's a setting where I can change the amount that it jumps, but once in a while I'll jump it up or jump it down. But besides that, no, it's always usually set. And I don't actually mess with the EQ too much. Once in a while there's like some stuff in where the guitars live, like I don't know, like around 500 hertz or whatever. There can be like a little bit too mushiness going on, so I'll like pull that down. But besides that, sounds great. I just set it and forget it, honestly. I mean, the thing's awesome. They sound amazing. Yeah.
The other thing that might address your issue, Tom, is there is an option. There's a volume control on the top of it, but it's not a radial dial. Yeah. It's a toggle switch, like an up-down. There's a step mode and a set mode. The step mode changes in 2 decibel steps, up and down.
Yeah.
The set mode, you can set like A and B.
Oh, I bet it's on set mode. I mean, it has to be. I definitely switched it on to set mode in the last 2 weeks of the last tour we were doing.
Yeah, so
nice. Thank you for that. I got to check that out.
Yeah, pop open the app, switch it over to step mode. I know that it's not like a cure-all, right?
And it's such a niche thing. All in-ears in general are kind of such a niche thing that, there's not that much information about them unless you're one of the big manufacturers where they'll have like a whole outreach thing, and it's like become an industry standard. So yeah, if I wouldn't have any idea about these until we had talked about them. So I'm super excited and definitely trying to let more people know, because it made my life so much better. Literally, like I missed hearing everybody sing along so much, and it's cool.
Nice.
This has been a great conversation, Tom, and so something that always just sticks in my mind, because I'm very excited to hear your answer for this, especially if no one's asked you before. What is your favorite sound?
Wow. Raindrops hitting a roof above a place that I'm like sleeping in, I would say. That's just the first one that came to my head. I'm a huge fan of certain winds and things like that, but definitely some earth noises are my favorite sounds. Actually, recording of the rain is cool, but being in a peaceful place, either really late at night or really early in the morning, and hearing the raindrops hit the roof a couple feet from you is I think my favorite sound. And no one has ever asked me that before. That's a great question.
Yeah. Isn't that silly? And you've been recording music for 25 years and nobody's ever asked what your favorite sound is?
But yeah, no one ever asked me what my favorite sound was. That's really cool. I'm going to think about that more.
I've come to find the truth is left inside. There's a ghost rider, baby, you're an outsider. Rusted frame, a box drink to burn. I'm the ghost rider, baby, I'm an outsider. Nobody's there.
Tom, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This is very cool and interesting.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time during your day. This is a conversation I've been so excited to have with you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Talking Ears is a production of Earmark Hearing Conservation and Philadelphia Music Audiology. The show is made by humans, proudly, not by AI. This episode was produced by Juan Vasquez and Mary Kim. The theme music is by Scott Hallam. We have a lot of great stuff planned for 2026, so stick with us, keep listening, and while you're at it, why not tell somebody else about the show? If you're liking what you're hearing, and I assume you do because you've made it this far into the credits, then I'm willing to bet that there's somebody else in your life who would also like this show. So send it to them, reach out, and let them know that this show exists. Your word of mouth recommendations are our primary marketing budget. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. You're the reason that we make this podcast, and we love hearing from you. So as always, thanks for listening.